about a million layers. Okay.
Sorry.
Do you want this one off as well?
Is that all right? Yeah, that was just thank you.
And now it's like cameras are ready, everyone's paused.
Sorry. Sorry. Right, okay. We just fold that back. You can tell it's very precious because it's wrapped with many layers. Right, nearly there.
I'm really excited.
Ah.
Have you not seen it? I've not seen it on the back board.
Just one further layer of tissue
Another
like between us and
layer.
the back old club.
Here we go. There we go. Oh. So we could be really careful with pens
And back.
And sneezing.
and
Yeah.
anything,
Breathing.
yes. I don't know. Larry, do you want to talk a bit more about
I will. What's been
materials?
really wonderful for me, because having the suspicion that it was what I thought it was, is obviously it's a big thing to say. So I've had lots and lots of peer reviewers, lots of scholars, curators, international experts come and have a look at it over the last few years for peer review, and it's always been really gratifying that they arrive with curiosity, but when they see it, they always have a wow moment too, and leave quite convinced that we are looking at an item of royal dress. One of those incredible telltale signs is the detail of the embroidery, and do come and have a look carefully, as
Yeah,
Lily
you
said.
can come round here as
But
well,
come and have a
yeah.
look, because the embroidery is worked to a quality that doesn't have parallels in many of the international major museums. It's worked in incredibly fine seed stitch, and some of the embroidery, some of the threads applied, and what that means is that the embroiderer was working with lots of different threads in the same needle to create texture and light. It's almost painterly in its quality, and you can see, I think you can see that when you look at it, there's just such a huge amount of detail, and so there's two different layers of embroidery going on here. There are these large motifs which are wrought by the professional embroiderer, who would have been a male, because the professional embroiderers were always male, and they're taken from, one of the things we've been able to do is to establish exactly the inspiration for all of these motifs. So at the time it was very fashionable to be inspired and to take patterns from print books, because books were new, and so it was a real sign of scholarship and learning to not only own these books but to show you owned these books by communicating and disseminating the images from them. So these aren't just pretty flowers, these are a demonstration that this person is scholarly and has the books, and they're taken from a book called La Clef des Champs by Jacques Lemoyne, who's a Huguenot refugee, and that was published in 1586, and it's called The Key to the Fields. It's a very popular book at court for use for embroidery. but one of the really outstanding things about the embroidery is that it's done through the cloth of silver, and that's one of the things that we were able to uncover with the research. That's incredibly rare, and in fact, as far as we are aware, it's the only example of this technique in the world, because even for the very wealthy, they wouldn't embroider through cloth of silver. It was too expensive. They would embroider onto linen or canvas and then applique it onto a fine fabric. We know that's the case because surviving examples show that even in the very wealthiest of houses. So the fact that this is embroidered through the cloth of silver is a real virtuoso act. It's a demonstration that this embroiderer is so confident and so skilled that he's not going to make a mistake. And to the Tudor eye, they would have recognised that, and they would have known that this was an incredibly expensive investment to embroider through the cloth of silver.
And would it just be one embroiderer? Because like with paintings, they often have different people working on the same paintings. Would it be a workshop with many?
They would have, yes. So, so for example, the Royal Embroidery Workshop had a master embroiderer who was on retainer only to serve the royal household in the offices of the Great Wardrobe in the city. Now he may have had apprentices, but we can't. He was if there are the hands of apprentices here, he was obviously training them so well because we can't discern more than one hand at work here. So he was obviously training them to follow his technique. What we can see is that it was customised a little bit later on, probably within a matter of years, by domestic embroidery. So the creepy crawlies and the bugs and the animals and the birds and the butterflies, they were done by amateur embroiderers, very skilled amateur embroiderers, but the people who would have been doing that would have been noble women at court. So at some point in the chronology of this, the noble women have decided to customise it and to bring it up to date with the fashions of the time. And they're also taking their inspiration from the print books. So you can see here there's a little sea creature scene. There's a narrative here. So you've got a little sea creature and a boat, a little sea creature, and the fisherman. So there's fishermen along here, but in this one the fisherman has been he's been eaten by the sea creature. But the sea creature was very popular in the Tudor imagination because of the voyages of discovery. So this is a kind of important narrative, and we know that these these prints were very popular. And then there's this hunting scene with the dogs and the stag and the bear. What's been really remarkable is that we've actually found the exact book that those animals were taken out of, and it will appear in the display. It's by Nicholas de Bruin, and it's called Four-Legged Animals. And so lots of the animals and creatures on the altar cloth come directly from that print book. So that's very exciting for us. So we've been able to conclusively date it from the print books. We know that the materials and techniques are unique and demonstrate that it's the highest level of customer. The wealth of the cloth of silver alone elevates it beyond anything that would have been in common use. So all the evidence is pointing that way. Libby, do you want to say something about the dyes?
Yes, so part of our conservation was to do further research into the materials. And one thing that we did was when we uncovered the back, we saw that the colours were incredibly bright, and we had the opportunity to do some dye analysis. So we took samples of different colours within the cloth and sent it off to a specialist lab, and it came back fairly how we expected, with natural dyes being used throughout. But there was one dye particularly which was quite exciting, which was the red dye, which was a Mexican cochineal. And at the time that would have been a very new dye because it was coming from the New World, and it would have also been quite expensive, so it sort of also lends to the story of this being a very elite piece of cloth.